Welcome Game of Thrones fans. Any of you watching the show and thinking to yourself, where the fuck is Carth? Well, you've come to the right place. I made this map to help me better remember the cities in the Game of Thrones world and to visualise Daenerys' journey across Essos. The idea for this build came from an Etsy shop listing of a 3D wooden laser cut Game of Thrones map. The design looks great, but they're charging over 100 quid for it, so fuck that, let's just make one for nothing. The first thing you're going to do is find a reference image of Westeros and Essos and carefully sketch them out. Take your time and try to capture as much detail as possible. Alternatively, you could just print out the reference images and trace them, as this would take less time and be more precise. Once you're done, it should look something like this. Now, trace around the borders according to how many layers you want the map to have. I wanted 5, so I drew an additional 4 borders. Now on to cutting. Cut around the outermost border. Again, be as accurate as possible. The closer the cuts are to the lines, the better the final product will be. As a backup, after cutting, I traced around my map to create a template. This means that if I screw up, I have a second map to work on. It takes hardly any time at all and can save a lot of hassle later on. Next, it's time to murder a cardboard box. I'm using single corrugated cardboard. You can use double, but I wouldn't recommend it as it takes ages to cut and it's difficult to be accurate. Lay your cardboard and trace around the map. It's worth noting at this point to avoid bits of cardboard which are damaged or compressed near the corners, as these will show up. Remember, only the borders will show up of each layer until the top layer, so save your best piece of cardboard for last. Carefully cut out the first layer and be sure to use a sharp blade. You'll probably use 2 to 3 blades for the entire project. Box cutters will be tragic for making this map, instead use some kind of hobby knife intended for intricate work, such as an X-Acto knife or scalpel. Take your time and be conscious of your cutting. In delicate areas you may need to cut in a particular direction or hold down certain bits of the cardboard to prevent parts from breaking away. Once the first layer is done, cut around the second border of the map. Remember to draw a backup template if you want to. Again, trace the map onto cardboard, being aware of bumps and folds in the material. Then cut that shit out as accurately as you can. A method I employed was making an initial cut around the entire map, and then holding the cardboard in my hands with my knife perpendicular to the cardboard and cutting areas that I missed the first time round. For curved sections especially, I found this technique to be incredibly useful. If you've taken your time, your map should start to be looking pretty good at this point. Repeat all of the prior steps according to the number of desired layers. Once you've got all of them, you're going to hot glue them together. Turn your hot glue gun to its highest setting and apply plentiful amounts of glue to the front of the bottom layer. Try to go close to, but not over the edges. Be quick in adhering the next layer to the bottom layer before the glue begins to dry, otherwise the layers may not lay flush. Strive to have equal borders around the layers and remember to include any islands you desire. Some may be too small, for instance due to size I was unable to represent the Iron Islands. Now on to painting. Initially you want to seal the cardboard, otherwise the paint will just soak it up. I hear PVA glue is viable, but I tested it out and the cardboard became bumpy. Instead I just used a grey primer I had lying around and applied 2 coats. For the actual colour I chose white to keep in with the winter is coming theme, and I think it looks pretty badass. I applied 2 separate coats. Once it's dry it's time to add the place names. I'd already written mine earlier on my template, so it was just a case of copying them onto the actual map. Different reference maps will have slightly different place names, be sure to include the main ones which are referenced in the show. Make sure the pen you use actually works over the paint. I'm using an ultra fine point Sharpie. If you don't have access to one, try a regular inky pen, but these will require a clear coat to seal the ink as they don't properly dry on the paint. Be sure to take as much time with this step as possible. At this stage it's difficult to fix any errors. If you do screw up, adding an additional layer of paint may be the best option. For those who are a little more artistic than myself, perhaps using calligraphy will really make the map stand out. Also, if you're feeling particularly confident, try adding in some extra graphics like trees and mountains. The bigger you make the map, the easier it will be to incorporate these extra features. Mine being as small as it is made it difficult, so I just didn't bother. And there you go, it's all done. 2 days work for a poorly detailed Game of Thrones map. Oh, do you know what? Fuck this, I'm just going to print out a certified Game of Thrones A3 map. Hey Sam, you want a cardboard Game of Thrones map?
No, why the fuck would I want that?
What am I supposed to do with this one then?